So yeah, I'll be the first to begin. My name is Julia Michaels. I'm a senior at DePauw. Just like Orlando said, few housekeeping things. If at any time you have a question for any of our student panelists, please feel free to just like unmute yourself. You can also send a chat to the host and then I can read off those questions. This is really just about you guys asking questions for our students, all about student involvement. So feel free to ask any type of question that you have. All three of our students, including myself, are also super involved on campus in a variety of different things. So hopefully we'll be able to answer really just any question you have about student involvement. Like I said, I'm Julia though, so feel free to ask any questions. But before we do these questions, I am gonna have our three panelists introduce themselves. So I don't care which one of you goes first, but feel free to introduce yourself. And we're also gonna have a slideshow posted right now, just so you can kind of put a face to a name and make sure that you can see all of their involvements on campus. So yeah, really quick, that's me. I'm an admission intern. That's why I'm leading and moderating this panel for you guys today. If you ever have any questions outside of this panel as well, that's my contact information. Feel free to reach out. That's my job as an intern. I'm supposed to be connecting with students. Couple of things I'm involved in. I've worked for the Office of Admissions the past 4 years. I'm an honor scholar, which is one of our 4 fellows programs at DePauw. I'm a part of Greek Life, and I've served on a couple different positions in my chapter. I do DePauw Dance Marathon, and I've also had like a radio show, so just a variety of things. But now we're going to the exciting part, which is our panelists. So we'll start with Minkyo.
Hi, my name is Mikyo Park. I'm from Seoul, South Korea. I grew up in Southern California. I'm currently a junior at DePauw, and I've been involved with the admissions for the past 3 years. I'm also a producer for our school's television and social media network, D3TV. I'm president of our school's SATV a cappella group, DePauw Capella. I'm a part of the International Student Association, the Asian American Club. I used to be involved with the Excel dance team. I work with the Film and Photography Club, and DePauw has a film series event where they do screenings of films that aren't available at the local movie theater. So I serve as a panel for those panel discussions that follow the film screenings. I'm also a writer's associate, and I'm a writer for our school's literary magazine, The Midwestern Review. That's
it. Okay, hi, I'm Sydney. Like Julia said, my information, that seems weird, is below. So I'm a senior at DePauw, and just like a lot of these people, I'm a presidential ambassador, so that's been really cool just this year as a senior. I got to go to like when Ken Jennings came to campus, big Jeopardy guy, I got to like meet with him and different people like that. I also am an admissions ambassador, so I give tours on campus usually, and that's how I'm on the panel today. Then I'm a management fellow, which is one of the 4 of our fellows programs again. And through that, I've also like heard about the investment group, which I've been involved in, Women in Economics and Business that we call WEB. And then this year, I actually was going to do the pitch competition, which is a part of the Entrepreneurship Club. There's actually like a $2,000 grand prize, so that's really cool. In Greek Life as well, and I've held a few positions. And then one of my favorite things to do, too, is that I help with College Mentors for Kids, and I was on the exec board this year, so that's been fun. And then I played volleyball at DePauw my first 2 years as well. So that's me.
Yeah, so my name's Thomas Kurt. I'm a sophomore. That's my sister Gianna and I at Wasser, which personally I think it's the best bang for your buck in terms of food in Greencastle. I'm an admissions ambassador, obviously. I'm also in the Honor Scholar program that Julie mentioned earlier. A mentor. I'm part of Green Dot, which is a sexual assault awareness and prevention program on campus. It's currently Green Dot Week, so if you want to follow us on Instagram, check it out. You could win possibly some AirPods. They're part of the prize. So, but yeah, I'm involved in Greek Life, the newspaper, play some IM volleyball every once in a while. And yeah, I'm a music student, so do plenty of stuff in terms of jazz and orchestra playing, got my trombone, but yeah.
So that's a little bit about each panelist. Okay, there's everybody. So
Ooh, we got more.
Perfect. Okay, a lot of us are here, which is exciting. I am just going to open it up if there's any questions that you guys have. If not, I can always ask some questions, get the ball rolling. But if there's anyone that wants to either unmute and ask a question, or like I said, they can send one in the chat to the host. I'll give it a little pause.
I don't know if this sounds. How do you find out about all the clubs?
That was a great question. Panelist?
I mean, I think the easiest one for me was the fair that they had at like the first week of school, right? First few weeks of school, they have an activities fair where all the student organizations set up a booth outdoors, and they have members from each organization that like walk around and have booths. Sometimes like some of the performance groups have short performances too. So that's easily the simplest way to just get started. That's how I got involved in most of my student organizations as well.
I would agree. The fair is really helpful, but also I think if you would like, if you're a little like timid at the fair, you like miss the fair for some reason, you can always just like, I would say just like kind of be aware. Like I said, I was involved with College Mentors for Kids, and I heard about that just because we use a room in Julian, one of our libraries, and they used to like climb the stairs, and I would always like hear the stampede of children on like Tuesdays at 3, and I was like, what is this? And I recognized someone in it, and I asked them what it was, and that's how I got involved. It was just like seeing these kids run through the halls. So I would just say like kind of be aware on campus too and just ask.
I would also like to add that social media is a great way to know what's happening on campus in terms of student involvement. So if you don't already, you should follow the DePauw Instagram, because it does a great job of highlighting not only all the events on campus, but especially different activities that are looking for members to join, or just any activity that might interest you. So that's a great resource as well.
Yeah, and when you
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. When you start out at DePauw too, like you have an opportunity to have a mentor group, and so you have an upperclassman already that's kind of connecting you with some of the stuff that they're involved in. I know I joined a couple of the clubs that my mentor was involved in, and some of her friends as well. So that was like really fast off the bat, even before like the activities fair, because that's like in September or something, a couple weeks in.
I think walking around campus, there are a lot of bulletin boards in each building. And those are, I always love to look at those, because those show you a lot of the activities going around, like around campus and around the town. And also a lot of student organizations post like their events there as well. So that's a good place to always just stop by and look.
Yeah. Okay. If there's another question, again, feel free to either type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. So I can ask a question. So you guys introduced yourself, and you listed a ton of activities that you're involved in. I think a really good question that incoming freshmen might be curious about is, how do you guys manage all of these activities? How do you balance not only being a student, but being involved in however many things? It's like, seems like everybody has like at least 5 to 10 activities. So how do you guys manage all of those?
I would say, especially once like I started getting involved in more and more, like I kind of tried to choose like maybe which clubs I wanted to try to be on an exec board for, or which clubs I'm just maybe like just a better member for and like a contributor. And I think also the upperclassmen at DePauw are super helpful, and like you don't really even know you're like there's an age difference. So I think you can always reach out to them for help. And a lot of times like the people in these clubs will become your friends, so you're just kind of like hanging out and you're all kind of like doing it together. So I never felt overwhelmed or anything. DePauw like encourages you to get like over involved, so it's always a good thing.
I think that time management is just a very important part about just college in general, and having extracurricular activities definitely plays into that a lot. One of a really great strategy that I use throughout my college career is kind of looking through the clubs and seeing which ones have larger time commitments than others. There are some clubs that meet weekly, and there are some that meet monthly. So you could easily be involved in like a number of extracurricular activities and not put in like a weekly, hourly, basis to all of them, because some of them, like, for example, the Midwestern Review, the literary magazine, I submit like one work each semester, and I'm still involved in that. So some clubs, you just have to kind of allocate your time efficiently and see how and when and how often clubs meet, and kind of balance that with your school life.
Yeah, to echo what Mikio and Sydney already said, like I'm kind of in the pruning stages where I'm kind of cutting back on some of the things that I can't spend as much time with, but also deciding what things I want to get more involved with. But at the same time, like college is a really different space compared to high school. I know for me, everyone was pretty involved in my high school as well. But it's different when you have like a whole block of like a scheduled day. Once you're in college, it's a little bit more flexible with like classes aren't just like class, class, class. So you can really be flexible about when you schedule things. I know like for newspaper, I'll have meetings well into the evening and also some lunch meetings. So it kind of just depends on what you're involved in. And also like you can schedule your time like throughout the day as well. So it's not just like you have X amount of like minutes or hours to do a club.
Yeah, so those are great answers. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to just unmute, jump right in.
Hi everyone. I just had two questions. First one was like, what are the dorms at DePauw like? Because I've seen so many, I've just gone crazy at the dorm videos at YouTube, and I just have no idea how dorms work and in the United States. So I just wanted to know how the dorms work at DePauw, especially where the lavatories are. Are they attached to the rooms, or do we have a communal bathroom? And secondly, generally till when do the classes in a day last? Because I've heard that they are like really flexible timings. So, but generally, when do you guys get free, or do you get or do you get time for any recreational activities or not?
Okay, so we'll first start with the question on housing, if any of our panelists would like to tackle that one. And then secondly, we'll go to the class schedule. If anyone wants to take a stab at either of them, actually.
I can talk about the schedule first.
Okay, we'll do this. We'll do reverse order. That works. That works.
That's just one that stuck out to me. But
Yeah,
so at DePauw, so the one like magic hour of the day is 11:30 to 12:30. So there's no class scheduled ever at that hour. Like it's kind of like a lunch period almost, I guess you could say, for choice of better words. So a lot of clubs will meet then. Like I know like my investment group would meet then during the lunch hour because they know you're free, but also a lot of clubs will schedule then. Yeah, it's kind of like forced participation. No, I'm kidding. But then classes normally end by like 3:50 is usually the latest class. And then there's a few, like I did a night class that was a Prindle reading course. And so that, I think mine was like 7 to 8:30, like just once a week, like on Wednesday. But I'd say like your typical day will be like anywhere from 8 to 4, but definitely not all day. And like some days you might have labs, some days you don't. And all like the clubs, like that's pretty like known thing at DePauw. Like all sports practices are usually like right after then too. So like you should be able to like go to everything you want to, and like some days will be freer than others. So yeah. That's my take on this.
Going off what Sydney said, a lot of the clubs meet during lunch hours, and also because we're such a small school and we're so concentrated, I think a lot of the clubs like will work around each other's schedule as well and kind of plan for dates that work for us. Like for my a cappella group, every semester we sit down and like we all take out our calendars and we figure out like a time that works for everyone's schedule, and we're like a group of 16 people. So yeah, I think it's pretty flexible.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think it just depends on what classes you're taking. You get to kind of pick when you want to take certain classes, and you don't have to do most of your requirements like in order. Like sometimes you have to take them, but like you can kind of plan your semester ahead of time. So you might have like a couple classes in the morning, a couple in the afternoon, one day, and then none the next day. So it kind of just depends with that. 8 a.m.s aren't my favorite, but otherwise, like, it's not the end of the world when you schedule classes.
Yeah, those are all great answers. Definitely, I echo all of that. And you'll actually get to be able to pick your classes when you come on campus in the fall during orientation. So that's when all that will happen. Does anyone want to tackle the housing question really quick? And then we'll jump right back into student life and student involvement questions.
I would say maybe like a short answer to that is, well, we're getting a new dorm that'll be done next year, and that's part of like a whole housing project. where they're actually gonna have 4 brand new dorms. That's kind of like their own quad in like so all the freshmen or the first year dorms are all in the same quad and South Quad, which is nice. So like you're kind of all like rallied together. But all the dorms are a little bit different. There's doubles, singles, triples, quads. Like really each dorm kind of has their own like personality and makeup. And I lived in Humbert my freshman year, and we had like communal bathrooms, but there was like a girls and a boys on each side of the staircase. So I probably shared my bathroom with like maybe 6 girls. And like I always say, like I never had to wait for a shower. Like my mom tells me that's like part of college is like brushing your teeth next to someone. She's like, that's where you'll make your like dearest friends. So I like thought like I loved living in the dorms. We had like an open door policy on our floor. We were like always like jumping in each other's rooms, chatting. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, I lived in Bishop Roberts and we had like 3 showers. And I like when I first came, I initially thought that, oh, there's no way that's going to be enough. But because everyone's schedules are so different, like I never ever had a problem with that either. And like usually I'd be the only one taking a shower at that time. So I think because everyone's schedules are so different, everyone like gets ready at different times. So even though it's communal, it's most definitely, it works.
Yeah. So that kind of answers the housing question a little bit. Definitely the rooms are big enough to fit all of your whole life in there. You don't ever feel claustrophobic or anything like that. At least I never did. Again, I'm going to second what everybody said. I loved living in my dorm my freshman year. I also lived in Humbert, so it was great. So that's a little bit about housing and schedule. But if anyone has any questions about student life or student involvement, again, feel free to unmute yourself or send something in the chat. I'll give you guys a second.
I have a question real quick about Greek life. Like, what's the kind of commitment that like is involved with that?
That's a great question. Panelists?
Well, I think for the most part, it just kind of depends on how much you want to be invested in it. One of the nice things that I experienced as a first year is like recruitment doesn't happen until before second semester. So first semester, it's really not like on your mind all the time, especially those first couple months. Like you get a chance to just kind of hang out in your dorms, get to know your class, stuff like that. And then depending on how invested you want to be, or if you decide to rush, like you can kind of make it what you want. And also each house kind of does like different things and has different levels of like commitment or like what you have to do. But recruitment takes place separate from the school year, I think, before second semester. So that's like its own time when you don't have to be like studying or things like that.
And then like I know my sorority, like I had a position one year, so it's like a little bit more time. Then if like you want to be on an exec board, that's like a little bit more time. So you can kind of like gauge how much you want, or like maybe one year you want to try to have a position, and then the next year like, oh, you'll have a big internship and you just might not have the time. And then we also like do philanthropy events and stuff, but those are like scattered throughout the semester. And then I lived in my sorority house, so it's also like could be your new living quarters and like your new cafeteria too. So it kind of just like becomes a part of your like daily routine.
Yeah, and to kind of like build on that, what maybe benefits have you guys seen from Greek life? If anyone wants to kind of maybe answer that, going off of that, especially maybe with time commitment, anything.
Just to finish my thought, I would say then that, so I was saying leadership positions. I really do believe like I did learn leadership skills throughout the house, just like leading like younger girls in the house or like with an actual position. And also a huge benefit was like they were just like my best friends and family. Like when we all had to leave, like I've never shed so many tears like leaving like those stairs. Like it was horrible. I mean, great in the best ways because like it stings to lose something that like you love so much. So for me, it was just like awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of a blessing, a curse living in a house with like 50, 60 guys. I personally like lucked out, like for the most part, like I chose the house because I liked everyone in it and they're like cool guys. They're all my friends. So it's really nice to just at the end of the day, like come back and be able to like say hi to people. And that's been like nice. Also kind of what Sydney said with leadership positions, I was philanthropy chair last semester and it was really cool to like see that come to fruition and like organize that whole event. We raised a lot of money for the Humane Society. So that was cool. But yeah, just a good place to have like all your friends together, and also have some leadership opportunities.
Yeah, and to kind of wrap that question up, I definitely think there might be preconceived notions of how much time you do have to dedicate to that organization. But I know for me, I was still able to control how much I wanted to invest in my Greek chapter, but also how much maybe I wanted to invest in other things on campus as well. So I know as a sophomore, I had a leadership position because that's something I really, really wanted to invest in. But as I became a little bit older, I started to invest my time in other things on campus, but I was still able to be a part of that Greek organization, still be involved in their philanthropy events, still be involved in the chapter. So I was able to kind of figure out that balance a little bit more over the years. So it's not just something you have to be like a consistent time commitment with as well. So again, there's flexibility in almost every activity that you do on DePauw's campus, which I think is really special. So yeah, any more questions about student life, student organization, student involvement?
Hi, I have a question. Like, how many clubs and activities do you guys think for a freshman is enough to get involved in?
That's a great question. Any takers?
Well, I know my freshman year, I was very over involved. I think that I know this is like one of the questions that Julia mentioned, like, how did you get so involved? But when you start signing up for classes, a lot of people say the term like shop around for classes. And I think that's very much true for student activities too. Like, I just went to every single thing that I wanted to. And so sometimes I would just go to one meeting or two meetings and say, oh, this isn't for me. And then tell them that I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's totally fine. But I don't think there's like a set number. I think it depends on like how much time it takes up and how interested you are in it. So I think that also as you continue your college career, you'll kind of like, you know, be more aware of more clubs that you'd be interested in, or like your interest will change. But freshman year, I think, is a time to kind of just shop around for different things that maybe you wanted to do and you never got a chance to do. That's one of the reasons why I started doing a cappella and the dance team. But yeah, I think it's a great freshman year. I think it's definitely an opportunity to kind of just try everything that you want to try and not be super stressed about like what's a good number and how many things you should be involved in.
Does anyone want to build on that? Or, okay, I just want to give the opportunity.
I would say too, like Minkyo was saying, like, don't be afraid to just like try something and then like maybe like figure out, oh, like I would rather invest my time somewhere else. I also think it's really cool though to do something freshman year and like carry it out through your senior year, and like maybe see how you can then maybe want to get an exec position, or like for me with like management fellows, like being in it all 4 years, I got to like just create these like beautiful relationships with my advisors. And like I texted both of them today and like we were talking about their Easter and how their kids' egg hunt went. And like the college mentors program, like I would see like my little buddies like moms in Kroger and stuff like that. So I do think it's cool too to like try to stick with your activity. So you really want to find something you like freshman year, to kind of show your like longevity over the 4 years.
And then to add one last thing, I would definitely say that I would encourage everyone to try at least one activity or organization on campus that maybe it's a little more out of their comfort zone. So I'm a history major, which I do certain things that I'm involved with that, but I'm also a part of the radio station. So I'm not a communications major. I don't want to go into broadcasting or journalism necessarily, but it's something that I've been able to do for all 4 years on campus. And I have surprisingly loved every second of it. So much so that sometimes I'll put it on my resume as like a fun little thing that I've done. And we talk about it in my job interviews. And that's like not even remotely what I'm trying to do post-graduation. But it's an activity and a part of student life that is something, while maybe not in my wheelhouse or for my future career plans, it's still something, and it's a good way to get involved. I met a lot of people through that organization. And so definitely also encourage you guys to do something out of your comfort zone. So I saw that we have a question in the chat. So I'm going to turn to that right now. I'm going to read it out loud for everybody to hear. So someone asked, what is the food like? Which is always a common question. And if anyone wants to answer that, I can really quickly start off by saying it's good. I promise it's good. But if anyone wants to quickly build on that, and then I'll go to the next question in the chat as well.
So this is a near and dear question to my heart because I love Hoover food. I'm not really a picky eater, so it's like really cool to have such like a broad array of like super fresh stuff. And I've also through the newspaper interviewed John Hecko. He's like the manager for food services, and like the sustainability and like I didn't realize how much like thought goes into making all the food on campus. Obviously, like I can't speak for other schools, but like I'm pretty fond of Hoover. I miss the pickles so much that I actually started making my own pickles at home, trying to like, I've got like 6 jars of pickles in my fridge right now, and some of them were pretty close. I'm getting there.
We look forward
But
to
I really like the food there. There's like 4 different stations, and it's also just a good place to like hang out with friends. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Hoover's great. We have a lot of great options. And one of the things that I always like to talk about is that there are students with dietary restrictions like gluten-free or things like that. And so for breakfast, we have like an omelet station where you can, they have a little pamphlet and you can write out what ingredients you want in your omelet and they'll make it for you on the spot. For lunch and dinner, they have the same thing with the pasta station. So things like that, it's really easy if maybe some of the foods that they have today aren't appealing to you, or you have dietary restrictions that prevents you from eating some of the foods, you can always turn to that. I think we also have like an actual gluten-free station where they have like gluten-free foods and gluten-free desserts. So yeah, I think Hoover is very accommodating for a variety of different foods. They also have a section for international foods that they do, which is always fun. So yeah, I think the food is wonderful.
And then also, like, in addition to Hoover, which we've been talking about, which we all love, which is like our main building, we also have a convenience store, which has like good, like just grab and go. Also, if you ever need to like grab something for like a lunch meeting or something, they make like fresh wraps, salad soups, bagels. I think this year someone told me they had like a make your own guacamole kit. So like they're getting pretty fancy.
Good.
Yeah. Over there. And then we also have a smoothie bar in the gym in Lilly called Blend. One of my two best friends actually worked there and they loved it. And that's all can like be on your swipe card too. So
Okay. So yeah, so food is great. We love Hoover. We love all of our dining options at DePauw. I'm going to go to the next question in the chat. There's a few in there. So the first one, have any of you guys participated in the school musicals or plays? We also have an opera. If no one has, I can always talk a little bit about it too. I haven't, but I know people who have. And if you guys have or know anything about it, what was it like and what was kind of the time commitment to that? I don't know if Thomas would know anything with school music.
Yeah. So
throwing you on the spot.
I'm like,
I'm not a vocalist, but I have participated in the opera for the last 2 years. I'm just underneath the show playing trombone in the corner. As a trombonist, it's not always the most exciting thing to just like sit and wait and then play like 3 notes for like the whole show. But based on what I hear and like what I get to watch the show as it's going on because I'm like in the corner where I can see it. Like it's some really cool stuff. It's a big time commitment for sure. But also it's also like a really cool community of people. A lot of my friends are vocalists or work on the stage crew. And they love it every year. It's like their favorite time. Tech week obviously gets a little rough. I don't know if you've done any shows or anything, but yeah, that week before it's a grind. But I really like the level of production that we can put on. And just the amount of productions that we put on. Like there's always shows and plays going on. So you can get involved even if you're not like a music or theater major. There's a lot of there's at least like 3 plays or 3 or 4 different shows being rehearsed at once. I can never find the space to practice because they always take up the rooms. But yeah.
Yeah, so you don't even have to be in the school of music to be involved in the musicals, operas, plays, which I think is great. So anyone is open to audition, work on the stage crew, anything like that. And like I said, and like Thomas said, we produce a ton of shows, so that's really great. Okay, a couple more questions in the chat. So Minkyo, this one's for you. Can you talk a little bit more about your a cappella group? And if you have any like recommendations for someone who might want to audition. Oh, you're muted.
I think
you're muted, girl. Sorry.
There you go. Okay, I'm actually wearing our sweater right now, and it's all I've been wearing for the past 3 days because I don't go outside. But our a cappella group is super cool. We meet twice a week, and I think it's a really great opportunity to just kind of join. My a cappella group is one of the closest friends on campus. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys know people that are in DePauw Capella, but we're a really tight group. We're all very close. They're like family to me. And you don't have to be a vocalist or a School of Music student. Like, I think maybe a third of our group is in the School of Music, and I'd never sung before, so I just did it out on a whim, and now I'm one of the co-presidents of it. So it's super cool, super fun. We have a concert once a semester. So the Saturday before finals week, we have a semester. So a lot of students come to kind of relax and take a break before they have to start taking finals. As for auditions, we usually have students sing like a couple bars from a song that we have, to sing with a couple of members to see how you blend in with the group, and then a song completely of your choice. But yeah, it's really relaxed. It's really not intimidating at all. But I think auditions, in terms of auditions, don't be afraid to just do it, because, you know, we won't be judging you if you don't have classical vocal experience or anything like that. It's a very open group.
Yeah, so it's a little more about DePauw Capella. Our next question that I'm going to address from the chat is, what is student collaboration like in terms of academics? So this is kind of open, so feel free to kind of take it, panelists, however you'd like. You can talk about maybe student collaboration in the classroom, maybe student life and academics, how those two come together, how your outside organizations work with your academics, anything like that, just any experiences in terms of student collaboration.
I can start. So I would say in the class that you pointed out, I would say most classes are like discussion-based classes. So we were kind of saying, like, for DePauw, like this whole like online schooling thing is kind of hard for us because we're used to just like talking so much in class. Like, we don't just like submit like big assignments or whatever all the time, which is like a good problem to have. So I would say in the classroom, it's very open. You're always like contributing. Like, you need to like read your readings or whatever before class. Then I would say, like, outside, I'm an econ major, and one of my best friends, she's also an econ major, and we always say, like, we met because I had a volleyball game freshman year, and I asked, like, this curly-haired girl in the front of the classroom if I could borrow her notes, and, like, she thought I was, like, slacking off or something, and I was like, no, like, I honestly have a game, and now we're, like, best friends, and we think we had 9 out of 10 of our econ classes together. So I think, too, like, you'll kind of, like, find your friends within, like, your major and, like, make kind of small study groups on your own. So that's how, like, I would say, like, I survived my academics at DePauw.
Yeah, I mean, as a music major, like, we're in rehearsals all the time. I'm also an English major, so in those classes, like Sydney said, it's like a lot of discussion. Like, all the time, people are just talking. You have group projects. If you're not writing a paper, it's usually like a group project, which is good and bad. But like, it's really good opportunity to just be able to meet friends. Like, people are always in Roy. I don't like Roy that much. I usually hang out in Julian if I'm going to study our science building, but like every like group has their little like niche spot to go study. So I think like you can kind of tell like where the friend groups hang out, like especially like as a first year, like you'll be able to see like different groups forming in different areas. So it's kind of cool to see that.
Well, I think academic collaboration is absolutely one of my favorite things about DePauw. Like, I love starting a new semester because every semester I have 4 new classes, and like, so that many more people that I can meet. And because our class sizes are so small, like, you make friends with the people you meet in class. That's why I think it's so easy to kind of find your way and find friends at DePauw, even if I know a lot of larger schools, like, that's why they do Greek life, to kind of find a smaller community. But at DePauw, like, being in a class with someone, you automatically build a rapport with them. For some of my classes, we would have group chats, and we would just make our own group chats. Like, one of my film courses, we had a group chat, and we would talk about the films we had to watch for class before class after we all watched the film. I once took a political science class, and I met a couple people in that class and became friends with them. And we ended up doing study sessions together before every single exam. Yeah, so it's super easy to kind of get help around class and make friends with the people in your class, just because we're a small campus, so you see them around everywhere too. So it's really easy to kind of strike up a conversation and create study groups.
Yeah, so just one last thing to add on that. I'm someone who loves the library. I love Roy. Sorry, Thomas. It's the best. So for me, I love going there and I always run into someone from a class. And usually I love all of my classes. They're always so engaging. So for me, whenever I run into someone, we automatically just get talking about class or their reading, and that just all those friendships just start to form for that. So I think student collaboration, especially in academics, is something that DePauw is really strong in, and it's something that also just comes naturally too. It's not forced. No one's like, oh, I have to work in this group. People are usually like, oh, I'm meeting new people in class. I'm excited to go to class and talk with everybody about this subject because I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the reading so much. So definitely there's no shortage of that on campus. Okay, so I'm going to do another question from the chat. So it's asking how many first year seminar classes there are, and how many students are really paired with in that group. So I do not know exactly how many first year seminar classes we're having this year. That's just going to depend on enrollment, and also just how many courses we're offering is going to depend on that. I will say, I believe the group of students ranges from like 12 to 15. I know Thomas is a first year mentor. Is that roughly how many? That's how many I had in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to
like
speak
12 to
a little bit
15.
more about mentor program, the first year seminar, or anybody can. We've all taken them, so we can all have an experience to share about that.
Yeah, just real quick, like for the mentor group, you go through orientation together. It's kind of the first people you meet, 12 to 15 people-ish, plus your mentor, and then you're all taking the same class together. I don't know how many there are like Julia said. I know for Honor Scholar, we usually have like 5 or 6 first year seminars. The only Honor Scholars have like a separate first year seminar. But from what I can tell, like all the seminar experiences are more discussion based, looking at different types of media, different types of readings, is kind of trying to blend, really do like the liberal arts education, and like throw you right into that. But it's a really good chance those are going to be your first friends, stuff like that. So yeah, I had a good experience in mine.
Yeah. So that'll be roughly 12 to 15 students, like I said. So Honor Scholars do have separate seminars that they take. Again, it is all first years though. I'm not sure if those are up on the DePauw website. Sometimes those go up early, so you can kind of look at those over the summer. I know at least for Honor Scholars to do that, but I don't think that's for actually all students. But that's something that you'll have a little form to kind of fill out, ranking the ones that you want to take. But roughly 12 to 15 students, and then you have either 1 or 2 mentors. So as the moderator, I'm going to do another question. It's asking about actually my experience as an honor scholar. So I'll talk about that really quickly. So and Thomas can too, because you're an honor scholar, right? Okay, perfect. So we can both tag team this. Do you want to go first?
All you.
Okay, I'll go first. So I absolutely love the Honor Scholar program. It is not only one of the reasons why I came to DePauw, but it's something that I have thoroughly enjoyed throughout all my 4 years here. Not only are the courses engaging and challenging, but they're also just extremely interesting and well thought out. So I've been able to take a variety of classes that maybe it's not necessarily something I had immediate interest in, but I definitely always leave the class wanting to know more. They're not necessarily, I bet a lot of you have maybe taken honors classes in high school. It's not necessarily just harder versions of things, but it's more looking at different challenges and problems with new perspectives. So taking an issue and kind of looking at it from different angles, and that's something I really enjoy. But definitely for sure the most rewarding part is as a senior, you write a year-long capstone thesis. So I'm on my last, I think I have 13 days left till I submit my year-long project that I've been writing. So it sounds crazy and daunting to research one topic for an entire year, but I think that really goes to show that the program produces results, because as a first year, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to write that much. And I actually was able to. So you're producing results, you're challenging yourself in the classroom. It's something that it is also a close-knit community. 3 of my best friends are also honor scholars. We met in these seminars that you take. And it's just a really great group of students to get to know on campus. And it's something where you're involved in this student life aspect, but it's also academic. So it's one of those clubs that really bridges those gaps. But yeah, I'll also let Thomas add on to that.
Yeah, I think when Julia said it's like they're engaging classes, I think that's right. You know, there's a lot of discussion in all my classes at DePauw, but with my honor scholar classes, like they can get pretty heated. A lot of them like revolve around ethics or some pretty deep issues that are like going around. And depending on what the angle is, whether it be like film class, like an English class, poli-sci, something like that, you're using that kind of as a tool to tackle whatever you're debating. And it's a lot of really good discussion. My first year, I had Professor Sununu, who's kind of legendary on campus. She like runs around, like she like is hunched over. She's like 70 something. No one knows how old she is. And she like sprints through campus. And she's like right out of a movie English professor, and going through like Shakespeare and like poetry with her and just talking about his class, which she's just like amazing. We still like have reunions every few weeks over at her apartment, and she makes us like tea and cupcakes. So our group's really close. But in terms of the classes I've taken, it's all really good. Like sometimes I'll be nervous going to class because I know it's going to be like a heated discussion. But I've like also really enjoyed that. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about the Honor Scholar program. So we're going to go through these last two questions, and then I think we're going to just wrap things up. I will say, though, if there are more questions, we'll maybe send a link to the PowerPoint so you can have our contact information. Also, we're going to be answering questions on DePauw's Instagram throughout the next couple weeks, and we're also going to have more of these virtual Zoom meetings and sessions for you guys. I know next week is all about internships, so you guys can join us for that as well. But we're going to do the last two questions in the chat, and then we'll kind of wrap it up from there. So really quick, this one's for Sydney. Talk about the Management Fellows program just a little bit more in your experience throughout your 4 years with that.
Yeah. So I would say the first thing about the Management Fellows is you kind of follow like a structure throughout the year. So there's a few different classes you have to take throughout the year, and then also during the week we have different speakers come in. So we'll do like an industry insight series. So like this year it could have been maybe one was about consulting. We've had one about like education, one about treasury, which like I didn't even know what that meant. I remember learning about like supply chain. I didn't know what that meant. So just like learning about these like different career paths, and it's either alum come in or just people they come in and talk to us. And then we'll also have some like bigger speakers. Like we had the CEO of General Mills come in and talk to us this year, and just we would have gotten to talk to like Brad Stevens, but that got cut a little short. So that was exciting in the works as well. And then also they'll just provide you with kind of a crutch to all things like just like kind of prepping for like the real world. So like resume reviews with students, with alum, phone calls, mock interviews. They have like mock interview rooms. The two advisors, Sandy and Sarah, are like the best, and Professor Gropp. You'll get to know them, love them. I actually was like on a Bible study with Sandy earlier today, and I was talking about Sarah, the management fellow lady, about her Easter. And then kind of the big whammy is your junior year, you'll do a semester-long internship. So I did mine at Eli Lilly in Indianapolis, and I was in finance, and that's actually now where I'm going to work after school, if we ever go back to work. So we'll see. Yeah, it's exciting, hopefully. So that was awesome. Those are 16 weeks. So it's like longer than like a traditional summer internship, which is nice because like you kind of feel like you're just like a part of the team. You're not really like younger or an intern. And I lived like in an apartment by myself. I got to go to like some Pacers games. I had to like drive to Kroger, and like I never knew like what Kroger was like right at 5, like after work. It's like this like rush of like people, like you hear their like heels and like business shoes going down like the aisle and stuff. So that was really fun, cooking for myself, having an internship, making money. It was weird. Got a taste of adult life. So yeah, that's what Management Fellows has done for me. I've loved it. It just provides good structure, I think, and you don't have to be like an econ major or a math major. You could be a comm major, history major, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, last question of the evening for us. Really quick, if anyone wants to answer, just recommend when you're just talk about your experience maybe living with a roommate, just ways to prepare, make it easier. What are the essentials to bring to your dorm? If anyone could just give a quick little spiel about that. I know that's something that sometimes you don't know anything about it going in. You think you know these one things and it's totally different. So this is definitely a good question to kind of hear about students' experience. If anyone wants to share their awesome roommate stories.
When I was a freshman, we used to use an app called the Schools app, I think, which I don't think is used anymore. Yeah, no. But it was kind of just like, it was like a group me or a Facebook page, just something like that. So I kind of did the whole like roommate dating thing. My roommate was from a small town too in Batesville, Indiana. And so we worked out like perfectly. We were like best friends all the year. I would definitely try to like communicate with your roommate like beforehand. We kind of like planned, like she brought the microwave, I brought the fridge. So it kind of like helped like me and my dad walking up the stairs with all the heavy stuff, or the elevator, I guess. So yeah, and I also think you can go random in the success stories too. Or if you want like a single, you can always request that. So you can kind of like make it your own, I'd say.
I think talking more about the facilities, all rooms do have AC and heating units, so you don't need to worry about that. Some students bring a fan, which always, are super helpful. We do have communal fridges and microwaves in every single building. A lot of students do bring their own mini fridges and microwaves, but if you don't, you will have one that you can use. So that's completely up to your discretion. I personally had my own mini fridge, but I didn't have a microwave, so I'd always use the one in the common rooms. So in terms of facilities and things like that, I mean, if you want to bring your own, that's fine, and it'll be more convenient. But if you don't, that's totally fine as well. There are spaces available for you to do that.
So yeah, it's a little more about living. So I just want to thank everyone for coming today. This has been great. Your questions were awesome. We love getting the chance to either hear your questions or have them typed out in the chat. That's what we're here for.